Hello, Sagittarius. Have you ever felt as if a gaze was piercing through you, not with eyesight, but with the soul? No one says anything. There are no messages, no calls. But you can feel something stirring in the deep layers of the unseen world. A door has just opened, not outside, but inside you, Sagittarius. And if you're hearing this, it's not by accident. Today I'll tell you why your soul is being seen by someone, a kind of seeing that cannot be undone. Not the version of you in photographs, not the you that shows up every day, but the you when the mask is gone. And when that happens, everything changes. If you feel like this has happened to you, leave a comment. I'm ready to be truly seen. Because when you dare to say it, the universe will begin leading you to the right one, the one who can see you without needing an explanation. So what is it about your Sagittarius nature that emits a light people can't look away from? We'll uncover it now, in a truth that even you once forgot. There is a kind of soul that can't be understood through explanations, only felt through vibration. And if you are a Sagittarius, you know you belong to that kind of soul. You don't have to try to be different, because just by being honestly present, you already make the world pause. In astrology, Sagittarius is the only sign ruled by Jupiter, the planet of truth, expanded consciousness, and soul wisdom. This is not just a poetic metaphor. It's a spiritual DNA code. Because if you were born under the sign of Sagittarius, you weren't born just to breathe and survive. You were born to ask, to seek, to illuminate. From a very young age, you felt something inside that didn't match those around you. While others were content with what they could see, you always sensed that beneath everything, there was another layer of truth waiting to be uncovered. You don't accept half answers. You don't do things just because everyone does. You can't stand pretense, fake silences, or smiles that don't come from the heart. That is your beauty, and also your tragedy. Because when you live truthfully, you don't wear armor. You show up like a flame, bare and undefended. You shine and unintentionally reveal the darkness in those around you. Not everyone is ready to face the light, and especially, not everyone has the courage to stand next to someone like you. Someone who keeps looking straight, someone who can't pretend, someone who refuses to compromise with distortion. I used to think living truthfully was something people would cherish, but then I learned, living truthfully is also the quickest way to be left behind. And if you've ever been abandoned just because you dared to live your truth, you're not alone. You weren't wrong, they just weren't ready. Sagittarius is a flame that doesn't pretend. But because you don't pretend, you also don't know how to shrink yourself to fit in. You don't know how to act okay just to be loved. And in a world where sincerity is often seen as naive, you became lonely. There was a moment you tried to make yourself smaller, just to keep a relationship, just to avoid making someone uncomfortable, just so they would stop saying things like, "You're too sensitive. You're making everything a big deal. You need to learn how to lighten up." And you did it. You hid yourself. But the Sagittarius soul cannot stand being locked inside a golden cage. You began to wither, began to lose direction, began to lose the most beautiful parts of yourself, just to fit into a mold that was never made for you. And then, one day, you stopped. You stood in front of the mirror and didn't recognize yourself anymore. You looked into your eyes and saw that something had quietly left. Trust. The trust that you could be loved for being exactly who you are. And in that very moment, your soul awakened. You realized you're not here to be completely understood. You're here to remind others of who they are. Living truthfully may cost you a few people, but it will lead you to the ones who can love you the most honestly. Be honest now. Have you ever been hurt for being real? Have you ever walked into a relationship with the innocence of your light, only to leave it behind as ashes? If so, share that story in the comments. Because here, no one judges you. We just want you to remember, your flame is not the problem. You are Sagittarius. You were born to burn brightly, not to conform. You're not here to be loved for what you are not. You are here to be seen when all the masks come off. And something strange has been happening lately. Someone, for reasons unknown, has begun to look at you in a way that's completely different. Not because of your appearance, not because of your accomplishments, but because of something only awakened souls can recognize. a gaze that cannot be ignored, an eye that cannot hide the shock when finally someone truly saw you. But why is this light once rejected now drawing eyes filled with reverence? Could it be that the universe is rewriting the script of the Sagittarius soul? Now we'll go deeper into a spiritual event that's unfolding. Someone has just seen you, and their inner world is starting to shatter. Because there are gazes that once they happen, change everything forever. Are you ready to step through that doorway? If you feel like you are the one stepping out from the shadow of pretending, leave a comment. I will not shrink anymore, because my soul deserves to be fully seen. Because once you dare to say that, you will begin to attract souls who know how to keep the fire, not extinguish it. And your light, this time, will no longer be forgotten. There are certain gazes in our lives that pass by, then vanish like smoke. But there are also gazes that don't touch the skin, but pierce straight through the soul. And after that, nothing remains the same. Recently, in the cosmos, a phenomenon is unfolding that few have noticed. Jupiter, the ruling planet of Sagittarius, is aligning its powerful energy with Uranus, the planet of awakening, breakthrough, and truths that can no longer be hidden. This alignment opens a rare gateway. Truths in relationships, no matter how long they've been buried, must now come to light. And you, Sagittarius, you've likely felt it, even if there's no solid proof. Someone who once forgot you. Someone who once turned away as if you didn't matter. But lately, they've gone silent. So silent that you can hear their energy, even though no words are being spoken. They have just seen you, not the you from yesterday. Not the version of you they once created in their mind. But the you, as you are now. You with all the growth no one witnessed. You with a light that is no longer timid. And what they've seen can no longer be unseen. Because once someone has laid eyes on your soul, there's no way to unsee it. It is a kind of recognition that cannot be reversed. They no longer see you through old roles, titles, or assumptions. They see the spiritual frequency you're now emitting, a vibration that cannot be faked, cannot be replicated. I know, you once wished that person had seen you sooner, when you were still innocent, when your heart opened easily, when you were ready to give everything without holding anything back. But they didn't see, or didn't want to, or weren't mature enough to understand. And so you had to walk away, not because the love was gone, but because you could no longer shrink yourself just to be accepted. I used to believe someone would see me if I loved them enough, but I came to realize they can only see when they themselves are ready to see. And sometimes that readiness comes too late. You don't need to go back. You don't need to dim your light to fit their old memory of you, because you've gone far beyond the version they once knew. They don't just see change. They feel a new pulse, a new current of energy rising from your soul. And that overwhelms them. To be loved for your truth is sacred, but for that to happen, you must have the courage to no longer hide your light. Let me ask you something, a very personal question. Have you ever wished for someone to truly see you, not with their eyes, but with a heart stripped of all defenses? And what did you do when they couldn't? If this touches a quiet ache within your heart, leave a comment. I deserve to be seen in the fullness of my truth. Because when you write that down, you are declaring to the universe you are ready to only keep the gazes that do not wound your soul. You know, when someone finally sees the truth, they only have two choices: to change or to run. There will be those who disappear in silence, but there will also be someone who returns not to possess you, but to ask to be near you with a new heart. Sagittarius, you don't have to decide anything right now. You don't have to open the door just because they've awakened. Because true light always walks hand in hand with discernment and emotional wisdom. Maybe you are a lantern in the night, causing someone to accidentally see what they had long refused to face, and now they cannot turn away. But the question is, do they have the courage to stay in the light you now carry? And if this seeing is real, what will it change in you? Can you continue pretending as if you were never seen in such a sacred way? Or has your soul already stepped into a new level of awareness, one where every old relationship must now be re-evaluated from the beginning? In the next part, we'll talk about the spiritual signal you've been emitting and why you no longer feel at home in your old connections. And if you're still here with me, Perhaps you too are entering a frequency from which there is no return. If so, leave a sign, because someone is seeing you, and you are also seeing yourself again through new eyes. There are things that can't be explained with words, only felt in a deep and sacred silence. Lately, you've become quieter. Not because you have nothing left to say, but because the conversations around you suddenly feel small, shallow, distant. You can no longer fake a smile at things you find meaningless. You can't keep replaying social roles just to preserve a polite connection. And when you fall silent, a new layer of energy begins to speak. In your current astrological chart, Sagittarius, two spiritual houses are being strongly activated. The 12th house, where dreams, the subconscious, and unspoken soul bonds rise. And the 9th house, the domain of soul missions, ideals, and sacred knowledge. When both houses awaken at once, your soul begins to emit a signal, not to the world, but to those souls who made a pact with you before this lifetime began. You're not speaking, but you are being heard. You're not searching, but someone is thinking of you. You're not calling their name, but your frequency is reaching the deepest part of them, where no language can touch. Can you feel it? Feel as though someone is missing you, someone no longer part of your present life, but whose energy is still here. They're not texting, not speaking, not doing anything, but you can hear them inside you, like a faint sound filled with longing. You're not looking for them. You're not seeking answers, but your soul remains open, not to cling, but because you've forgiven. You've outgrown the wound. There's a story I want to share with you. A Sagittarius woman once loved someone so deeply, she believed he was her destiny. He left without a clear explanation, leaving her with thousands of questions that would never be answered. She didn't chase him. She simply continued to live, in the way someone does when they've walked through pain with a light still glowing inside. And then, a year later, he came back. No apology, no begging, just one sentence. I don't know why. I just feel like I need to be near you. You make me remember who I am. He didn't return out of regret. He returned because the light in her had awakened something in him, a truth he had long avoided. Sagittarius, maybe you are in that frequency too. You don't need to do anything. Just know that your soul is sending out a signal, and those who once belonged to the deep story within you are beginning to hear it. But do they have the courage to come back, or will they choose silence again? That answer no longer matters as much as it once did. Because you are no longer sending signals to be loved. You're sending them to awaken what's real. When you stop trying to be understood, your soul begins to be heard through the deepest silence of the universe. And now, I want to invite you to pause for just a few seconds and be honest with yourself. Have you ever felt like someone was thinking about you, but they didn't have the courage to face you? If so, share that story in the comments. It doesn't have to be long, just true. Because maybe you too are sending out a frequency someone else has been waiting to feel. And if you're still here with me, it means your heart is beginning to glow again. You're no longer searching with your eyes. You're searching through resonance. You no longer love with fleeting emotion. You love with soul presence. So now that your soul is broadcasting, now that your energy has begun to stir the things once buried deep, what will happen to the relationships that no longer match your vibration? Do you have the courage not to return to the old loops, even when their call is painfully familiar? Let's talk now about why. You no longer belong in shallow conversations and among souls who don't know how to keep your light. Because there are some flames that once lit will never again agree to be extinguished. If you're ready to move forward into the higher octave of who you are, comment below. I'm shining now, and my soul no longer needs to apologize for that. And if this message speaks to you, share it with someone you once felt a wordless connection with. Because maybe they're hearing you too, right now. There is a kind of pain only light-bearing souls truly understand. It's the pain of having to dim yourself, just so others won't flinch at your brightness. You are Sagittarius. You were not born to soften your light. You were born to illuminate what's been forgotten within you and in this world. But that light, not everyone is ready to face it. For many years, you learned how to adjust yourself, to turn down your passion, to tuck away your deep ideals. to suppress your razor-sharp intuition like a hidden arrow. Not because you stopped believing in truth, but because you had been rejected too many times for living it out loud. You once shrank yourself just to be more acceptable to someone. You once hid your big dreams just so they wouldn't call you delusional. You once walked beside people who couldn't see your soul, and you called that love. But love without being truly seen, is it still love? In astrology, Sagittarius is the sign of the truth seeker, but not the seeker of approval. You didn't come here to fit other people's standards. You came here to expand the edges of awareness, even if you had to do it alone. And if someone truly sees you, please, don't step back. Don't shrink just because your light makes others uncomfortable. Because light is not a fault, and innocence has nothing to apologize for. If you keep living as a reduced version of yourself, you will always feel empty, even when someone says they love you. Maybe they love your laugh, but they don't understand the sorrow behind it. Maybe they love your strength, but they've grown used to leaning on it without ever asking, "Are you tired?" And then one day, you wake up in the middle of those relationships and realize you're slowly dying inside the box you contorted yourself to fit. No one told you to stay silent, but few ever truly wanted to hear. No one stopped you from dreaming, but every gaze made you afraid to speak your truth. Shrinking was never natural to a Sagittarius soul. It was the outcome of wounds that went unseen. But you've healed so much already, haven't you? Now it's time to stand tall in the full height of your spirit. You don't need to shrink anymore. You don't need to silence your inner voice just because someone else doesn't understand. You don't need to squeeze into a relationship that's far too small for the light you carry. You are light, not decorative light, but awakening light. And that light is ready to live again at full strength. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is there something inside me still trying to shrink, just to be loved? If you answer that honestly and realize it once existed, leave a comment. I will no longer shrink. I deserve to be fully loved in the wholeness of my light. Because you know what? Some people only love you when you're easy to control. But there are others who are waiting for you to shine as brightly as you were meant to, so they can witness the miracle that lives in you. And once you choose to stop shrinking, what will happen to the old relationships? To the ones who were there when you were still hiding your light? Next, I'll tell you about the gazes that truly see, the kind that make your soul tremble, because they come from a place where no pretending remains. Because your light, once switched on, begins to activate everything that can no longer be hidden. And from that moment on, your life will step into a new depth. There's one thing you need to know, especially if you're a Sagittarius who's beginning to shine again after years of dimming. When you emit light, people will look, but not every gaze carries love. In astrology, when your light is activated, that is, when your first house, identity, fifth house, creative self, and 10th house, life mission, are stirred by strong planetary movements, you step into a season where attention from the outside world floods toward you like a wave. But not all gazes are the same, and not all gazes are worthy of staying. Some look at you because they want to possess your light, not to love it, but to control it, to own it, to be warmed by it, without giving anything in return. Others look at you and copy you, but never admit it. They reflect your presence just to see more of themselves, not to see you. And then, there's a very small group, rare, quiet, not flashy, not loud. They look at you as if they're holding something incredibly delicate, and they don't want you to vanish ever again. They didn't come to take, they came to protect, to hold your light with their entire soul. But to recognize them, you need one thing: clarity. Because when you've been hurt, especially for being real, you tend to believe all gazes are dangerous, and so you hide yourself again. Not everyone who looks at you truly sees you. Not everyone who comes close is here to love, but not every light that goes unloved loses its value. Light is still light, even when it stands alone. There's a story I once heard from a Sagittarius woman. She said, "I used to live like the sun in winter, thinking anyone who came close just wanted to be warm. But I learned some people only came to burn their firewood in my light, and when I burned out, they left." Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever lived with your whole truth, and then been used just because you were too sincere, too trusting, too undefended? If you have, leave a comment. I've learned not to apologize for my light anymore, because your light is not a flaw. It is a sacred gift meant to illuminate others and yourself. O Sagittarius, when you begin to recognize the value of a pure gaze, you'll stop feeling grateful just because someone sees you. You'll start choosing wisely. You'll learn to discern which gazes come to keep and which ones come to claim. You will no longer accept people who say they love you, but can't handle your brilliance on the days when you're too honest, too emotional, too you. Some people come to take. Some come to reflect you, but only a rare few come to keep your light with their whole soul. And do you know the miracle in all of this? Your soul already knows who is who. So what happens when someone who once lacked the strength to hold your light comes back, quieter, more mature, and looks at you again, but this time with eyes that no longer hold fear? We will open that emotional door, the place where an old light meets the soul that once walked away. And you will have to choose. Does that person still have a way back into the world you've been reborn into? Some connections defy logic. They don't come from circumstances or long familiarity or the perfect image. They come from a deeper place, a place where souls once promised to find each other again. At this moment, the lunar nodes, Rahu and Ketu, are shifting through zodiac signs that deeply affect Sagittarius' spiritual and fated paths, which means fated meetings. Those faces that make your heart race for no reason are being activated. It might be someone from the past, someone who once left your life in silence but now returns, not to reclaim something, but just to stand in the new light you've become. It might also be someone new, a soul that feels strangely familiar. And they won't ask you, where are you from? But instead, what have you walked through? Some souls don't come to love your body. They come to awaken the part of your soul you once abandoned. You'll know who they are because when they look at you, you won't feel the need to prove anything. You won't need to be interesting. You won't need to seem fine. You won't need to be anything but yourself, whole, raw, and peaceful. And when that happens, don't rush to label it. Because sometimes sacred love doesn't come as a relationship. It comes as a mirror for the soul, so you can remember who you are. Real love doesn't make you shrink yourself to fit someone else. It makes you open to step into yourself without fear. Maybe you're standing at that threshold, Sagittarius. Maybe you're sensing someone, not sure if they're from the past or the future, quietly making their way toward you. Don't close the door, but don't lose yourself to keep them either. Because if they truly are a soul sent by destiny, they won't need you to change in order to love you. They'll only need you to stay in your light. So, is it someone from long ago or a newly awakened soul who traveled far just to find you now? We'll open that door in the final part, where you're no longer the seeker, but the one who is truly seen and divinely chosen. You weren't born to beg for space, you were born to shine. And someone, whether from your past or a soul freshly awakened, has seen that light in you. So if you've ever hidden your soul just to fit into someone else's small mold, today, let that go. Leave a comment, I'm ready to stop hiding, because when you speak those words, your soul begins to shine freely. Thank you for staying until the very end. Thank you for having the courage to face yourself, and for carrying this light forward, even when the path hasn't always been easy. If you see yourself in this journey, leave a comment, as a sacred confirmation that your soul is ready to be truly seen. And if you know someone who once quietly walked away from their light, share this video, because maybe the light you reignite today will be the reason someone doesn't give up this time. Because maybe they're still wandering, and the light in you is what will guide them back to their own soul. See you again on the journey of souls who no longer shrink themselves.